Everybody, it's Annette from The Art of Intuition, and today we're going to talk about waiting our universe out and how we tend to try to do that and why it normally never is going to work out for us. And when we see other people do that and we kind of see what they're doing because we did the same thing, and our universe will wait us out. Our universe will, it's almost like taking away everything. It's almost like when you watch those movies where they trap these people in a building and they're like, we need to get them to come out. What can we do to get them to come out? We're going to cut the lights. We're going to cut the generator. We're going to we're going to set the building on fire. We're going to smoke them out. So our universe will do things in the beginning that are very light. It won't throw you out of a reality. Because our universe deeply does love us, even though, and I say when we talk about our universe, it's just our higher aspects of ourselves. It's our Christ aspect. It's our God particle activating. It's our galactic aspects. It's all the higher aspects of us that once we get into ascension, we start to embody in those aspects. But until we get into those spaces, until we get our body clean enough to be able to embody in those aspects, get our consciousness up, open up our heart, get our higher mind consciousness open, we don't see it like that. We see it as, we'll feel like it's almost like when you go back and watch a movie and someone will be narrating the story and they'll make it sound one way, and then you go back and you're viewing it and you're like, that's really not what happened at all. But in my narration, it was really, really rough what happened. Let me tell the story about how I was a victim in this story, but if you went back and looked at it, you would see, wow, you had like 1,000 chances to write that differently and you didn't do it. Because we are the ones that write the story. We are the ones that created it all. So we'll get into our victim energy to clear victim energy. But at the end of the day, we know we're just clearing victim energy because we created the whole fucked up mess. We did that. I did that, But if I look back at all the things I did not want to let go of, I did not want to let go of, all the expensive things I used to spend money on. I wanted to keep all that stuff, but if I keep all that stuff, I have to stay in a lot of these. At the time, I had to stay in a lot of these in the job I was in because I made enough money to support that stuff. But once I started making a transition over, I wasn't going to be able to keep a lot of that stuff. So, you kind of don't want to make that transition over, or you want to make that transition over and still keep all this external stuff because we feel like we need it. I have to have all this stuff. I have to have all this really important stuff that's not important. We have to relearn about what's important. So our universe will do different things. Any reality I was ever in and had to leave, my universe gave me a lot of time to get out. It gave me a lot of chances. It showed me what you can do to make this easier. If we're going to let's start squirreling money away while we make this transition. Because when you leave different dimensions of consciousness, different realities, the money does not come with you from reality to reality. You have to, you can't keep that job in this reality. We're going to have some money we can keep and move here, and then we're going to have to use this money to kick off our next reality. It'll start to show you how to do stuff. Let's start cutting some of this stuff out we don't need. Let's start moving on from this stuff. We don't need to be, spending $600 a month on our hair, and yes, I did that. $700 a month to get your hair done. You don't need to do all that stuff. You start to see ways that your universe is trying to ease you out of stuff. It was trying to get you off of it. Like, let's start budgeting some stuff out. Let's start seeing what do we really have to go forward? What is just a necessity we don't really need and honestly are not going to miss. You'll find that when you go back and relive realities, you'll have a complete flip of what you used to do before. You have a complete flip of what you thought was important. But when you're in the throes of leaving something behind, our human wants to grab onto it. It's just a natural tendency our human has. It doesn't want to let anything go. Even if deep down, it doesn't really give a shit about it. It's just what it represents. It represents a reality. It represents a state of consciousness you're not really let go of yet. It represents a safety for us. Even though the human realities, they're not safe realities. They just feel like safe realities because they're the ones we know. Or the ones we're conditioned to know. They're normal to us, but they're not natural to us. That's why we stress so much to stay in them. We stress so much while we're in them. Because we tend to have this idea that we have to have it that way. Until our universe shows us, you ain't going to get it your way. That way, this is not about you anymore. You're going to start moving toward helping out humanity. You're going to start moving toward shifting into a different consciousness. Your body's going to start shifting. None of this stuff is going to matter to you later. So what we'll find, we fight so hard to hang on to, is shit we don't even care about later. So all the stress, all the hanging on we did for stuff, we didn't even need and we didn't even care about. And our universe will give us all these directions out. You know, I can just, how many times my universe gave me different ways out and I kept doubling down on the same stuff. I would keep doubling down on the same stuff and I wouldn't want to go. And what happens eventually, like I said, our universe can wait us out because our universe knows what we're doing. Our universe knows every thought we think. Our universe knows every way we're trying to get around it. Our universe knows everything we're trying to do to snake our way around what's highest aligned, snake our way around our soul realities. It knows what we're trying to do. It's not like we're pulling the wool over it. It's just giving us time because in the beginning we have a little bit of time. That's why it starts us so early. It's almost like teaching a child, you know, we're going to teach a child how to read once we get to first grade, second grade, third grade, you know, but we really don't need them to hit the ground running till probably, you know, third or fourth grade. But we're gonna really kind of to show them, and we're gonna give them a long time. Well, take those years, and you can make it decades. Our universe gives us a long time. It gives us a long time in certain timelines, a long time to learn that lesson, a long time to let some of this stuff go, a long time to move you out of stuff. It is very, very kind to us. We just don't feel like it's very kind to us. We feel like it is very mean to us. You know, we don't see where it has worked out for us. We don't see where it loves us. I mean, it really, really does. We really do. It really does. It just gets us to a point where we will hold on for so long, it has to bring down the walls around us because we are not leaving. We will just double down and continue to wall ourselves in, and we dig a little deeper every time because we think the trenching in is going to help us. You know, if I get so deep in this, I won't be able to pull myself out. Don't worry. Your universe will pull you out of it. It will not only pull you out of it, it will pull you out of it so fast that everything else around it just falls away. Which leads us to, you know, the reality, as soon as we stop giving any attention to it, it dissolves anyway. You know, as long as we're not on it, and this was something I saw explained a pretty interesting way in a video I saw where they were basically talking about how video games are made and how in the distance of a lot of video games, everything's kind of blurry and you don't really hone in on it until you get into that scene where you can see what's going on. Because it's too expensive for it to try to take every scene and put in the graphics to make it real and to put in the animation and the movement of everything. So the same thing we do. You know, our illusion that we are building, the reality we've constructed, yeah, it's all an illusion. What's going on 3 rooms over from me is nothing going on. It doesn't even technically exist yet till I go in there and I form it. Because I don't need to see that yet. Only when you get to certain parts of your ascension can you actually start to see beyond that. Beyond what your physical eyes are forming around you, you can energetically see what's forming, even though it's not there yet. You can still energetically start to see it. Well, but when we're in that space with our consciousness and our universe is starting to take little things away, it's kind of like if a child is not learning and they keep doubling down on the same behavior, that same bad behavior, we start taking things away from the child. No iPad, you can't do this anymore, you no more allowance for you. Our universe is going to do the same thing. It's going to continue to take it away. If we're in an abusive relationship, our universe will say, okay, this relationship is not balanced. It doesn't even have to be physically abusive. It's just not aligned. It's not going to hold. So we're going to start taking the spouse away. All of a sudden, this spouse might be on trips all the time, and they're not there anymore because they might be hampering what we're able to do because we might need to be alone more. And all of a sudden, this unbalanced relationship, which, I call it abusive. It is abusive to our soul in a sense. It's abusive to us because we're not able to fulfill our full potential. So we'll take that out. That person might all of a sudden get a job in another town. They might move away. They might not be right where you are all the time. They're not able to really impact you the way they were able to do. They might meet someone else. They might, a zillion things could happen. Or they just can simply be traveling more. And you decide, wow, I kind of like it when they're not here. Maybe that's more the way I want to go. Our universe gives us a lot of stepping stones. If we're trying to get separated, it might bring us the money to do that. But a lot of times I've seen people just kind of double down on the relationship and take the money our universe gives us for one thing and we'll spend it on something else. And then we'll say, oh, I didn't get the money for it, so I can't do it, because we didn't really want to let it go. We don't want to let it go because we don't believe there's something else, because we can't see it. Our physical eyes don't see it till we form it, we're in that simulation, and until we step in the scene, we can't clearly see the scene of what's going on. Even when we're clearly in the scene, when we're still seeing through our physical eyes, we don't really see the energy behind what's creating it. We get to a certain space in our consciousness where we can physically see the energy of what's creating it. We can start to understand, even though I'm not in that reality yet, my reality from 2 years from now that I'm going to be in, I can energetically see it creating. I have an idea of what it's going to look like, even though I'm not physically there yet. I can't physically see that yet, but that's okay, because energetically I can see it. I've moved kind of beyond the simulation in that point, and I'm programming it as I go. I'm pre-programming, Whereas we're in our human consciousness, we don't see that. We feel like everything moves on around us, even if we're not in the scene. If we're not in the scene, technically it's not there. It doesn't matter. Because it doesn't matter what we can, if we're not there, it doesn't exist. But we just will keep doubling down on stuff because we feel like we can, if we keep doubling down, we can stay in it. We'll entrench. We just have all these kind of games we play. And our universe will wait us out. If you're trying to wait out your universe, you're gonna lose up, because it'll wait you out. It has no time concept, and when you get in certain parts of ascension, you start to understand that we live beyond time. You start to live beyond time. It's like, I got all the time in the world. You take 15 years if you want to take 15 years. Now eventually it'll collapse around you, because now you got your jump point. You have somewhere else you have to be. You're now delaying everyone else. You cannot stay here any longer. So now we're going to have what's going to look very traumatic for you. And you're going to say, boy, I didn't even see it coming. Yeah, I saw it coming. I didn't want it to come, so I kept doubling down on maybe if I keep ignoring it, it won't come. I don't want to see it. I don't want to be part of it. I want to ignore it as long as I can ignore it. I don't want to be part of this. So that happens all the time for us. And when we're in the parts of trying to wait out our universe, and knowing we have to go do something. I know I did it as a few years, this reality I'm in now. I did not want to do it. I knew it was coming at some point. I could feel it. I could have felt it years ago and maybe done some things to mitigate it. I didn't want to do it. I had all this judgment around it. I had all this stuff around it. I didn't want to come. I don't want to do any of that. I want to go live my sexy life, my ascension life, which I thought was going to look totally different, because we're kind of still into what our human thinks it's going to look like, and not understand that those are realities I left, and my soul line realities, they don't look like that. They feel joyful and peace and connection, but they don't look the way we thought they were going to look. So a lot of realities we think we're going to get into, we don't really get into, because we're still trying to compare them to human realities. So you'll see some that are coming, they're kind of on the cusp, but because we don't want to go do that, we won't take any of the precautions. So our universe is going to kind of thrust us in and be like, okay, now you have no choice. It'll take every other choice away, because the reality, now you have to go do that you've avoided. You have no other choice. There's nowhere else you can go. You got to go do this one. So if you find you're getting pointed in one direction, and you kind of have seen you're getting pointed in one direction, but for whatever reason you want to go in that direction, and you're trying to wait your universe out for something else to come along, you can't have the something else come along till you clear what you have around that reality you don't want to do. And the universe will take away every other decision to where there's nothing else. There's no one else, there's no lifeline to call. It's all been gone. You've waited too long, in a sense. You really can't, and now you got to go do it. So stop trying to wait it out. It's a loser's game. It is a human loser's game to try to wait out your universe. Take a good look at what you're being pointed to do. Take a good look about what you're resisting to do and why you're resisting to do it. And keep practicing the art of intuition.